It seems that the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken did not manage to gain any concessions from Israeli Prime Minister Binyamin Netanyahu on his visit to Israel, his sixth visit to the region. The two men spent just 40 minutes talking together. And after that meeting, Netanyahu came back out and said that despite US pleas not to launch an all-out assault on Rafah, that Israeli troops would go in with or without US support. So he says that is necessary to eradicate remaining Hamas battalions there. But Antony Blinken warning in no uncertain terms that this would be a grave mistake and would have severe repercussions in terms of Israel's standing in the world. He said it would further isolate Israel. He also said it would further jeopardize the delivery of humanitarian aid. You know, in Rafah, there are around 1.5 million people packed in there in already dire conditions. So getting the aid to them and people elsewhere in Gaza, it is a huge challenge. So it's not clear on this where this goes next. There is an Israeli delegation heading to Washington next week to try and look at what the US is presenting as alternatives to an all-out offensive on Rafah, a more targeted approach. But Netanyahu seems to have ruled that out. Now, whether that is brinkmanship on his part, whether it's a ploy to pile more pressure on Hamas as these negotiations in Doha continue or not, or whether if the Rafah assault is eventually called off, he can blame that on Washington. Well, you know, that remains to be seen. He is an experienced political maneuver, of course. And on those talks in Doha, it's interesting to note that Antony Blinken, before leaving Israel, said that the gaps were narrowing. They were down to the last few points, that things were, of course, difficult, but that progress seemed to have been made. That's not the account we're getting from Israeli officials who've been speaking out anonymously in various parts of the media. They say that there is perhaps no hope for an imminent ceasefire, and that, of course, still remains to be seen as well.